I'm not allowed to call this a parody anymore because it's a cop-out apparently, so whatever. Inspired by Cinema Sins, ripping off Cinema Sins, whatever floats your boat. May as well call this game Cork and Nefarious. Hell, it's what I named all my video files for this game. I mean, seriously, who cares about Ratchet or Clank when you can have Cork or Nefarious to play as? Actually, scratch that. May as well call this I Don't Like Change the game. Everyone else is holding a gun and here's Clank standing here completely unarmed like, I can help too. What a knob. Mandatory install times, despite the fact that this is a digital copy. I know this is technically a PlayStation 3 sin, but somebody's gotta take one for the team. Oh, also, Petronius said I should just go ahead and do a 4x multiplayer because 4. He's a good boy with good videos, so I trust his judgment.
Clank and I talked about it.
James Arnold Taylor isn't being a shell-raising turtle in this scene.
Clank and I talked about it, and we both decided it's time to go back to the way things were, you know? Fixing ships, playing holo games till 3 in the morning. Leave the hero stuff to the other guys.
They introduced this plot point only because they want Ratchet to seem like a giant douche later on and tell a small girl that the fate of their home is not his problem. Ratchet is a heroic and caring character to the core, so forgive me if I groan whenever they decide to go with this Ratchet wants to retire bullcrap. Groan. Also, these designs are hit and miss. They're generally cleaner and more pleasing to the eye, but Ratchet looks like he had a brick dropped on his head and Clank literally looks like a bobblehead toy from a Happy Meal. They also changed the proportions of characters to suit the game a little better. Nefarious and Quark have been shrunken down, while Clank is 2/3 the height of Ratchet. It's a little odd coming from any of the other games in the series.
Leave the hero stuff to the other guys.
Like Galactic President Quark.
Yeah. Or anyone else. Ratchet? What? I didn't vote for the guy.
Yeah, he voted for Kodos. But seriously, after the incident with the Protopet and his deal with Drek and literally handing the Dimensionator to Emperor Tachyon, how does one of the most morally confused, bumbling and self-obsessed people in the galaxy get elected president? Oh. Also, apparently the comics explain how Quark came to be president. That's great, but I don't care. I should be able to play the game and understand without needing to refer to outside material.
Sir, you're reading a cereal box.
I question the need for a cereal box to be holographic. Quark unrealistically fitting into a cramped vehicle cliche.
I don't know about this. Maybe we should call Kronk and Zephyr.
Exactly. Ratchet's pretty handy with a blaster, but having the galactic president escorted by a single person to this event is all kinds of incompetent.
House lights?
Hello, Mr. President!
Oh, no one noticed Nefarious and Lawrence floating right above them because of course they didn't. It's alive.
Help me, Lawrence!
Apologies, sir. I think it's time to tender my resignation.
Of all the times you choose to resign, you choose now, instead of when your employer was lying badly damaged on top of a ship, at which point you could have just abandoned him. Oh shit, my boy Nefarious is a playable character! Reset that sync counter to motherfucking 0! Alas, poor 60 FPS Ratchet and Clank games. I knew them. Fellows of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. Clank jumps on Nefarious' back, a little too eager to trust the evil doctor. Gunplay is a ridiculously automated affair. See a group of enemies? Hold R1 and you'll automatically fire towards the enemy. Doesn't help that most weapons function very similarly, and the only thing that makes it more interesting is the overload mechanic, which requires players to focus their fire on the same enemy.
Just a reminder, tonight's Battle to the Death is brought to you by Big Al's RoboTrack and Gaming Superstore.
An unregulated event, i.e. a Zagroot attacking the city, somehow gets a sponsor.
Let's hope it doesn't find another power source before our heroes can get their final licks in.
Just had to open your big mouth, didn't you, Kip?
You've done some underhanded things in your time, but this beats all.
This is probably the least of what Nefarious has done compared to attempting to turn every organic life form into a robot. Ephemeris is designed to capture the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy, so I understand if it wants to capture Ratchet, but Quark? Seriously? And as for Nefarious and Clank, can a Tauranux spirit even possess a non-organic life form?
Oh, perfect. Can this get any worse?
Oh, Lance, kiss me, love me, hold me like you used to before you became a flesh-eating zombie.
Quark, would ya?
What you doing up there?
Scarily competent tomboy child cliche. The Vacuum 4000 uses Zepto shrink technology that stores creatures for Ephemeris, so why are there so many machines around this planet, like this one, that require the use of the Vacuum? Game informs us about checkpoints after we just beat a level filled with them.
Now that is taking matters into my own hands.
Clank is a psychotic and unfunny little shit.
We're going to have to work together until we find out where we are.
For the sake of the game, I like that Nefarious is being forced to work with his avowed archenemies. However, every puzzle or contraption in All for One only requires at least 1 or 2 people, so Nefarious isn't needed. Convincing him to help is entirely unnecessary.
Clank's right. For the sake of our own survival, and for drama.
Quark continues to be good at gaming since.
A few billion volts more, and I'll have a new space station!
You know you've stuffed up when the game makes you want to punch Nefarious in the face. Cleaning robot inserts itself into the incinerator for no particular reason, perhaps to encourage suicide, which Ratchet and Clank games have done one time too many. You know what's worse than having no sprint? Limited sprint. You know what's worse than having limited sprint? How about a sprint you toggle on with the left stick and stays on until it runs out? Better than Commander Shepard's 10-yard sprint, I guess.
These creatures have been released from their pens. Collect them using your vacuums.
Discount Pokemon.
Your training is now complete. Gold stars for everyone. Look, no more gold stars. Try putting that on the fridge.
Discount GLaDOS.
Something appears to have disrupted the gravity in this region.
And yet everyone is able to jump around at Earth levels of gravity.
Someone fell asleep and piloted us into a darn asteroid field.
We're sort of stranded above the stratosphere awaiting rescue. But don't worry, when they get us, we'll get you.
There's nothing stopping them from asking for another ship to come down and rescue Ratchet and the gang though. But if they did ask for more assistance, we wouldn't get to go on this amazing adventure, which is a sin on or off depending on how much you like this game. You've noticed by now that I'm playing all by my lonesome. Several reasons. 1, I live in a household that detests the smallest mention of Ratchet and Clank, so getting anyone to play with me was a struggle. 2, my PS3 has a lot of trouble playing games online for some reason. 3, fuck you, Ratchet and Clank games are meant to be played single player, that's how I want to play. Of course, this means I'm not getting the intended experience here. When I did manage to play All for One with 2 other people when I was younger, I did have a decent bit of fun. But if you don't have any friends, then that means antisocial assholes such as myself have to put up with, and I shudder when I even think about this phrase, partner AI. The weapon upgrade system in previous games was fine, so why they felt the need to change it here is beyond me. Instead of weapons upgrading with use, you now simply buy the upgrades with bolts. Bolts you have to compete for. Most of my weapons had a decent amount of upgrades by the end of the game. I can't imagine how few upgrades a player would have if playing in multiplayer. These little weapon introductions are cute and all, but how are Kronk and Zephyr churning these out so quickly? Yo, that's some Bob Loblaw shit. Bob Loblaw's Glob Lobber Lob's Glob Bomb. Say that 5 times fast, fucko. Despite there being only 6 of them, and only the last one being of any real challenge, the lab trials you need to complete to get the Rhino 6 are actually a lot of fun. Why couldn't level design like this carry over more often into the main game? Yes, me am real Farpod female, am also love small creatures much very so, am not soulless, unblinking husk of polygons. It makes sense that Susie only pulls Ratchet down, seeing as Ephemeris is after Ratchet for being a rare creature, but the other 3 continue to stand out in the open and give away Ratchet's location.
But you're Ratchet. You saved the whole universe. You're not supposed to... Oh, I sneezed in my mask.
Where's the joke though?
I'm afraid her parents were lost during the Ephemeris raid on Totem Phi.
A little orphan girl cliche.
Alright. So where do we find this Commander Spock?
Main character is convinced to help because another character is revealed to be an orphan cliche. Going back through my notes, I've discovered my roommate has decided to add his own sin, and I quote, "Fuck, I'm thirsty for a feed." That's quite the grasp of English you have there, friend. I know this has nothing to do with All for One, but someone's gonna take one for the team. Again.
For added carnage, use multiple warmongers on the same target.
Or like every other weapon in the game? That's how almost all the weapons work, there's no need to tell us every time. Attacking an enemy's unprotected underbelly cliche. This robot somehow drinks a cup of water with no mouth. And that's ignoring the fact that a robot is drinking liquid in the first place. This game's definition of puzzle confuses me. Shoot an ally across a gap with the vacuum, then swing shot across the gap yourself, and repeat ad nauseum. That's not a puzzle, that's a time waster. It would have been nice to see puzzles be more involved, for example, characters having certain traits that only they have, then forcing players to use these traits and cooperate to solve puzzles. Instead, every character is the same and any action or weapon can be completed or equipped by any character. The only difference between them is their unique weapon, which isn't anything especially noteworthy. Nefarious doesn't need a jetpack, he can just hover about the place anyway, which he never does in this game because the plot demands it. Also, after this section, we only ever use the jetpacks once. The game doesn't give us any reason why we can't just jetpack around the place instead of solving menial puzzles. Who left all this machinery on? And why is it placed in this haphazard way? There is one benefit of playing single player. I win every time. It is impossible to be scared by something called a wigwump.
Hollow Diary, entry 005. They came during the night. Hundreds of them. and they attacked without warning.
Video game rule number 46. Always show the player the last in a series of audio or video diaries first to heighten the sense of mystery. Mr. Zircon is doomed to appear in every Ratchet and Clank game ever made from now on until the end of time itself.
Commander Spock burned my home.
In earlier games, it was James Arnold Taylor being the voice actor for every second character, but now it's Richard Horvitz. Now, I loved him in Invader Zim and Billy and Mandy, but he doesn't have the most versatile of voices, so all the characters he does just kinda sound the same. This trend continues in every Ratchet and Clank game after this. This massive boulder rolls over this rickety-ass bridge without breaking it. Watching pigs kill themselves is not something I was expecting to do today. If you try and jump back down to an area you were just at, the game punishes you by killing you, which is a complete and utter failure of game design. Robots drowning. Also, Ratchet at least can swim, so there's no reason why he should die when in water. Oh look, a character-specific ability he could have had. Also, no matter who falls in water, the same voice clip plays every time, and it clearly sounds like Ratchet. We interrupt this game to bring you a Mario mini-boss. I love how the cover blatantly tells me that I should be using the plasma bomb launcher like I'm too much of a dumb cunt to figure it out. Jesus, I'm sorry.
3 weeks until retirement, and now this?
Close to retirement cliche. Mr. Perkins. Memorable name, forgettable boss.
Steward, where are my minions?
Most of them are afraid to fight, Commander. They are hiding in storage until the interlopers evacuate.
Well, then lie! Tell them there's a party in Sector 12 and cake and presents.
Attention, minions. There is a party in Sector 12 with cake and presents, and absolutely no threat to your life whatsoever.
Discount GLaDOS literally lying about cake. Can I stop here? Please let me stop here. I'm gonna admit I cackled like an idiot when I heard this noise, whatever it is. Villain makes an attempt to shoot you down while you're on a grind rail and fails miserably cliche. I've never been much of a fan of melee weapons in Ratchet and Clank games, but the Blitzer is easily my favourite. My issue with other melee weapons is that they require you to be up close, as well as the fact that most enemies don't stagger when hit, leaving you wide open for attack. The Blitzer launches you at an enemy, then gets you straight out of there again. It's so much fun to use and actually half useful. And if we play that in reverse...
The end is coming. The spirits of Tornax will have their vengeance.
Nah, it's just foreshadowing. That's not as cool as an Easter egg or something. Not worth the effort.
But if you tell us how to defeat Ephemeris, I believe I know someone who can fix you.
Well, I don't like to brag, but I did modify my crotchetizer with a special vibrating function I call the Happy Platypus.
Hi, my name's Quark. I'm a character in a relatively child-friendly series of video games. Also, hi, I have a fucking vibrator! Insomniac are masters at getting this shit past the censors. They need a medal or something.
You did the right thing, Doctor.
Get back!
Nevo believes he can modify the protomorphic energy extractors in order to separate the energy from its host. Tomorrow will be a great day for science.
You know tomorrow's gonna be a terrible day for them then. Insomniac attempts to resurrect the WoW meme 5.5 years before it even becomes a thing. When I think of all the amazing different kinds of locations you could explore in the Ratchet and Clank universe, I wouldn't think of a level set on some abandoned docks.
We are attempting to reach Terawatt Forest.
Sup, Clank? Did you just wake up or something, my dude?
Dr. Nevo Binkelmeyer. He and Croyd were lifelong friends.
Looks like they didn't stay friends for long.
But they did. Kronk literally just said they were lifelong friends. Unless you pause, you can only ever see how many bolts you've collected in the current section of the level, which is entirely useless when playing by yourself. Was David Cate told to finger himself in the recording booth?
The only way to shut down the platform's power generator is to destroy 3 charging docks.
Destroying 3 of something to advance cliche. Ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence at its finest. It was kind of funny the first time, but now this is just getting ridiculous. These holojournals are conspicuously scattered across the planet for no other reason than for the player to find them. I'm trying to send these cutscenes, but they're honestly just so bland and unremarkable, there's almost nothing to sin. Half the problem, I think, is that the narrative isn't directly focused on Ratchet and the gang, but instead focused on a plot that has nothing directly to do with them, and everything to do with characters that we've only seen in video diaries.
Sure, it's a dangerous planet riddled with murderous robots and exotic predators, but take away all that, and what do you have? A presidential retreat/water park.
Can I kill him now?
No.
I can make it look like an accident.
How?
Ratchet.
All right, no.
We interrupt this video game to bring you Super Monkey Ball, or at least that's what I was hoping, but instead they are literally only used to connect electrical circuits.
The bridge is activated. Follow me.
Nefarious gets his loose eye fixed, but can't tell the difference between a bridge and an elevator. Even my Elgato wants this game to stop. Whoa, you get to control a Guardian. Will each player have to control a different limb and be forced to work together? Or will it be a dang-ass fucking shitty-ass turret section?
This lab, as you've no doubt realized, is a decoy. I've already moved all our research to the Phonica moon.
Yeah, just tell Nevo where you've moved all your stuff so he can come and find you and fuck your shit up again. Again, could have used your built-in jetpack thingy or the jetpack you received back in the Dead Grove. Ah, cutscene incompetence, what a blissful existence.
Why did you save me?
I don't know. You would have done the same for me, right?
Don't know why they're bothering trying to be friends with Nefarious. You know he's just gonna stab you in the back in the end. I mean, he's evil to the core. It's in his name, for the love of Christ. We'd never make it to the Phonica moon if it weren't for these conveniently placed tanks of fuel left behind by others. This ship is also only able to move on a 2D plane, so it's lucky that there's a perfectly navigable path through the asteroid field. Huh. A buggy bug. Well, isn't that deliciously ironic? Or fucking infuriating. Sorry, I tend to get my words mixed up sometimes. See? Look at that! Jetpacks! Jetpacks that can also be activated at will! Oh man, the Elgato's really struggling. Are you okay, baby? Ow, fuck, shit! Whew, you're burning up. Don't worry, baby. I'll wrap this up as soon as I can. Just hold out a little longer. Doing these reflector puzzles with an AI partner is actually infuriating. Whoever thought this was a good idea is up against Hitler for the award of Shithead of the Century.
Confirming my hypothesis that the answer is in the rocks. They can't survive outside. So they need vessels.
Convenient that Dr. Croyd has only just figured this out as Ratchet and Co. arrive.
Dr. Frumpus Croyd, astrophysicist, paradoxologist, and Lombax Whisperer?
That's some good reading skills you got there, Captain. Who are you and what have you done with Quark?
I don't need a translator.
I see.
We're here because someone is using your work to bring monsters to Magnus, and we need your help to stop him.
He's saying he's hungry.
But we're all speaking English here. Why can't Dr. Croyd understand him? Or is Ratchet actually speaking a different language that is being translated so the audience can understand him? Is All For One actually an anime? Also, does the universe see the Lombax population as some sort of group of mechanically handy dogs? Between Dr. Croyd and one of the pirates from Tools of Destruction, Lombax Whisperer is a more common occupation than one might think, considering the whole race speaks the same goddamn language as almost every other species in the universe.
I did some research on planet Toranox, and well, I'm afraid it doesn't exist. It's a fictional planet from an ancient Cragmite children's story called Bagog and the Loki. It's about a Cragmite warrior who battles shapeless monsters on an alien planet.
The rest of the story is later translated to reveal that Bagog destroyed Toranox with a Class 3 planet smasher. But this is all passed off as a children's story because why not? Also, Cragmite destroys planet doesn't sound like much of a story for children. Where's the happy ending? The moral you're supposed to learn.
Oh, Ratchet, you ate my entire
Quark,
family.
could you?
Now
On it.
how are we supposed to get married?
Grind rails have handy little arrows telling you which way to jump, because grinding on rails is a very common pastime with all the hip and happening cool kids. The Critter Strike is straight up broken, considering it can fell mini bosses in a matter of seconds.
Shame about the ground pounder.
How did Nefarious know it was called a ground pounder? Video game rule number 73, pad out game time by throwing waves of unwanted enemies.
Wait, aren't you gonna give us some cryptic advice we can use to defeat Nevo?
Oh, sorry, friend. That kind of advice, I'm afraid I don't have.
Foreshadowing. The plumber fixes the train platform and places it back on the rail, but earlier when it was dislodged, there was nowhere for the rail to fit in. Says the model designer, just clip it in. Unless someone does that CinemaSins thing to our game, no one will notice. Games that only give me a small timing window to pull off a double jump are the bane of my existence. Now, I could sin the Rhino 6 for having extremely low ammo capacity, or I could sin it for being easy to acquire because you'll have sucked up way more creatures than each lab requires, or I could knock a couple of sins off because it's a fucking mech suit. Clank seems to get way more rhino ammo than I do, which makes me as mad as a cut snake. Oh look, that kid from the start of the game who hasn't appeared since. What's the name? Fuck, I don't know, who cares?
Running into something you're unprepared for isn't going to bring them back.
And skip.
You guys want me to hold the perimeter too?
You're coming.
Why not leave Quark there? He'd clearly be more of a detriment than any help.
He's going to be upset. Very, very upset.
Who's going to be upset?
Nevo.
Oh, what an unexpected plot twist.
This is the future. A machine that can force our consciousness into vessels worthy of our intelligence.
We interrupt this video game to bring you Super Mario Odyssey.
With this, Toranax will be reborn.
Also, I grew up watching The Lion King 352 times a day, and boy, if Mr. Dinkles doesn't gather up his forces and start singing some space-themed version of Be Prepared, I will be very surprised.
Let's see how you buffoons fare against my collector minions.
Will a final boss ever be able to handle things without needing to call in minions? Here, we have to reflect Mr. Dinkles, or the Loki Master's lasers back at him. He could, of course, stop firing his lasers and avoid taking damage, but I've never been a final boss, so I wouldn't know how this all works.
I don't think I need you anymore, little pawn. Get away from me!
Croyd Ex Machina.
Don't let him turn it on!
Everyone stands around while Ratchet is the only one who makes any effort to stop Mr. Dinkles. Also, Quark and Clank mysteriously teleport about 3 feet between each transition. My favourite part is when I'm forced to restart because enemies fail to spawn. Between having a rhino and ammo pads resetting every few seconds, this boss is, honestly, easier than the mutated Protopet from Going Commando. And that's saying something. Nefarious pimp-slapping a body-snatching spirit is the greatest moment in video game history. 3,000 years into the future, and we're still using flash photography. Also, big happy funtime group photo cliche.
Nefarious old friend, you gotta admit, the sight of 2 dudes just hugging it out warms the cockles of your mechanical heart, huh?
I was going to make a comment along the lines of, gee, if only everyone were as open-minded as Quark, but apparently I'm not allowed to push my political SJW agenda in my videos anymore, so fuck it, I guess.
So I'm afraid Dr. Nefarious isn't going to do anything but steal our ship!
What do you expect? I'm a supervillain!
Dr. Nefarious would be good at gaming sins.
But how do we get off this rock now?
That's why you should have called for help for both yourselves and Ratchet in the game, but your incompetence would have left you stranded on Magnus were it not for Ephemeris.
I am not sure this vessel is ready for interplanetary travel.
Except it must be because it traveled to Luminopolis to capture all of you in the first place.
We cannot pilot a weaponized drone into Luminopolis.
Relax. I pilot weaponized drones into Luminopolis twice a week.
All for One is secretly terrorist propaganda in disguise.
It's like a fine of 10 bolts in the class you take online.
10 bolts for flying a weaponized drone into the city, and yet here I am paying $55 because I couldn't vote in the last state election. Fuck you, Australia. Nefarious suddenly has feelings for the people who sabotaged his evil plans twice, stranded him on an asteroid for several years, and cracked his skull. Did they pull this game off fanfiction.net? This looks nothing like the picture Susie took. And a final retroactive sin for All for One being the last appearance of Lawrence. Say not in grief he is no more, but live in thankfulness that he was. May you squander under heaven's employ. Multiplayer, take away a sin, now. Why is my quick select button on the right stick? When playing alone as Clank, Quark actually becomes smaller when hopping on Clank's back. While humorous, it also hints that size matters may actually be canon. The Quake Hammer just kind of feels lacking. Like, with all the other gadgets, you either use them throughout the game, they actually have uses in combat, or both. The Quake Hammer doesn't really have either, you use it in one area and that's it. You can't even use all that power to damage enemies. 100 fucking sins for that motherfucking piece of shit Polar Sea or whatever that goddamn fucking ice level is. Holy fucking Christ, that level is fucking disgusting and I hate it! No matter what I do, and I'm by no means bad at the game, I run out of fucking ammo because I only play single player because I'm a friendless bogan and I always run out of fucking platforms because you only get so fucking many of them, and I swear to God, every time I die the AI part, it's just like, well, I better die too then! What even is the Arc Lasher? Its range is very short, and having a short-ranged weapon to stun an enemy is the same as trying to travel across the country on a unicycle. It's like if the Shock Ravager had sex and urinated in the climax. All for One's concept title was Foreplay. They're not even trying to be subtle about it anymore. Also, bros before foes, fiends with benefits, and multiple organisms. Dude, if it were called multiple organisms, I would have given this game -1,000 sins. Why does Ratchet look so cute in this game? I'd like to think Ratchet is pretty badass, but how can that be portrayed if he looks like a newborn kitten? Why is Nefarious purple? He's supposed to be blue. I don't like change. The only way to obtain ammo without buying it is to walk on some pads that replenish the ammo of your entire arsenal. Why is Nefarious alive? 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 Why is Nefarious? +1, because if you want to play multiplayer, you need a friend. According to Zephyr, a Kragmite used a machine to destroy the planet of the Loki. If such a weapon existed, how come the Kragmites didn't use anything like that on the Lombaxes? The fucking swinging mechanic, like, I know in theory it sounds cool to have all 4 of you hanging like monkeys, but seriously, it's absolute cancer sometimes. When Ratchet asks the plumber for advice about defeating Nevo, the plumber replies with, "That's advice I don't have," and winks, implying that he's aware that Nevo isn't the final boss / main villain. However, in other games such as Tools of Destruction and A Crack in Time, the plumber, through the power of plot convenience, knows the disastrous consequences of things going south and provides advice or a part needed to repair something. Does he intend on not warning Ratchet and Co, leading them to their potential demise? Nefarious is a villain, not a hero. He could just kill them all on the spot. Insomniac, I need answers! Add 4 to 5 extra sins for the bullshit Gravoid that no matter how quickly you shoot them, they'll still blow up, making you constantly fall to your death.
Coming up, 10 million ways your Lupa Sponge can kill you.
Which sounds way more interesting than the plot of this game.
I think he needs to poo.
This guy moaned at least this loud.
Well, I don't like to brag, but I did modify my crotchetizer with a special vibrating function I call the Happy Platypus.
Thanks for watching, my dudes. Before I go, my shout out for this video goes to that guy Cal, or Calcom, I guess. Whatever. Cal's a cool guy. He's got some great reviews that have a perfect balance between being in-depth and humorous, and some neat little live-action sequences for good measure. His most recent video on Condemned 2 was particularly interesting, even as someone who never got to play it. Anyway, check him out with the link in the description below. Also, we're going back into unscripted territory for a second. I'm gonna plug myself. I kind of want to get involved with the Clone Hero community a little bit more, so over on my second channel, valeforXD, I've started posting some of the charts I've made. You know, I've made some like Mastodon charts, there's a Porter Robinson chart, particularly hard Symphony X one. Yeah, I just want to get involved with the community a bit more, so I've started posting some stuff over there. They're going to range from, you know, all the ridiculous hard shit that people like Jason Paradise and the Akai and UCog Monkey would play, to easier stuff that I like playing because I'm a fucking noob. And also I'm going to do a little reveal soon enough of the setlist that I'm working on, which I don't know how many people are interested in any of this stuff, but if you're interested in any of it, then go fucking link in the description below, check out valeforXD, give me the fucking, press the big red button. This is why I don't fucking do unscripted shit.